This is California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. I'm glad you're with us today. Our guest is Betty Yee. She is a member of the Board of Equalization for the state of California, representing a quarter of the state.
Yes.
Is it essentially central and northern California?
It is northern central California along the coast, mostly.
Right. Beautiful areas,
yes.
no doubt. I do want to talk to you about those areas and the rest of California,
yes.
because we know that throughout our state we have suffered mightily through the housing crisis.
Absolutely.
If you look at the Inland Empire, the Central Valley, huge foreclosure rates. How bad was it, and how is it today?
Well, California topped the nation in terms of the numbers of foreclosures, and we are starting to recover slowly. And coupled with that was obviously the collapse in the financial market.
Right.
So California is seeing some rebounding. And
that is what I've heard.
Yes.
I mean, the Inland Empire, I'm there through this job. I mean, it really is turning around,
yes.
finally.
Yes, finally. We are seeing home sales start to at least sustain at a pretty good pace, and probably will be reaching some record highs with respect to increased sales activity.
The challenge, though, for some is landing a mortgage,
yes.
because the banks, in a lot of ways, the pendulum has swung the exact opposite way. So if you're not one of those kind of, here's my W-2 and I have one income and that's it can be a challenge.
It can be very much a challenge, and frankly, a lot of these homeowners or potential homeowners could be subject to some pretty inventive and creative scams.
And let's talk about
yes.
that, because that's why you're here today, to
yes.
talk to us about individuals who are currently in homes or wanting to get in homes, and they are being targeted mightily.
Yes.
I want to focus specifically on what we know as foreclosure rescues. There
yes.
are several.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about the foreclosure rescue scam, which, I've seen myself.
The foreclosure rescue scam, of course, anyone who's a distressed homeowner today, they want some relief with respect to their mortgage payments and being sure they can stay in their homes. And these scams are being developed by organizations or individuals most of the time to target distressed homeowners who want to see some relief. But in return for that, they need to pay an upfront fee.
And that's the key.
That's the key.
Is the upfront fee,
that's right.
which is not appropriate.
That's right.
Is it legal?
It is not legal. You have financial institutions that should be able to provide this service to you, and to be charged an upfront fee for services to be enumerated later is really what the scam is all about.
And as I understand it, we know that California passed the homeowners Bill of Rights. Did I say that
yes,
correctly?
Yes, yes.
And that provides for a lot of benefits for the homeowners that are in distress. And so in a lot of ways, there really is no need for foreclosure rescue firms.
No, there isn't. And in fact, there are a lot of protections and resources available to distressed homeowners, particularly through the Department of Justice at the state level, where there are consumer resources that are available.
And what's stunning is some of these firms are asking you to pay your mortgage to them.
Yes. That's one of the first signs of a potential scam.
And what's even more distressing is our friends in Spanish-speaking communities
yes.
have been #1 targets.
Absolutely. We know that where many of the foreclosures took place were in the Central Valley, the Inland Empire, where we have a lot of Latino households, and so Spanish-speaking homeowners are definitely targeted.
Betty Yee, probably once a week, I get a letter.
Yes.
And it is a letter telling me that if I contact this organization, they can get my property taxes reduced. I'm not lying to you.
Yes.
At least
yes.
once a week.
Yes.
Tell me about those letters.
Again, another cottage industry, very much a scam. Anyone who owns property can go directly to their county assessor and petition for a reduction in their property value. If you're being asked to pay a fee for having someone do that on your behalf, this is free. You can contact your assessor
So
alone.
simple.
Very
it's so
simple.
And I've spoken with many
yes.
recorders, and a lot of them in various counties are doing it on their own.
Automatically.
They're
yes.
taking that step.
That's right.
Even though it may be against the interests of the county financially, they are taking that
That's
step.
That's exactly right.
And what's so maddening to me is the letters look so darn official.
Right. They look like they're coming from a government organization, government agency, and but the telltale sign there, if anybody is charging you a fee, it is a scam.
What about just overall refinance scams, that they're going to help you refi?
Yes, same thing. Anybody who's approaching you to refinance your home, the scam is always identified by somebody wanting an upfront fee. Yes.
Okay, so I hope my parents don't get mad at me, but my parents have at times considered a reverse mortgage.
Yes.
They were victims of another scam
Yes.
a few years back,
Yes.
dealing with the Ponzi scheme. So reverse mortgages can be somewhat appealing.
Yes.
First, describe what a reverse mortgage
Sure,
is,
sure.
and then the scams that we see as a result.
A reverse mortgage provides mortgage relief. Essentially, it is like a home equity loan.
Right.
So if you have equity in your home, you can take out a home loan against that equity and not have to pay it back until you actually are no longer using your home. So it could be upon, hopefully, not
Well, it could
upon
be-
the death,
right, but that's
or,
appropriate
or
sometimes.
if you move
Right.
to a different location, or if you end up going into an assisted living arrangement. But the elderly are definitely the targeted population for this type of scam.
As a general proposition, are reverse mortgages something to be legitimately considered?
I think in some cases they are legitimate. They
Okay.
can provide some needed relief in cash
Sure.
for elderly homeowners if they have enough equity in the home and they aren't turned upside down as a result
Right.
of the loan. But again, an upfront fee to apply for that loan.
And is that the key?
That
these
really is the
upfront
key.
fees?
That is how the scam artists make their money. They will charge a fee. They will give you a sense of the type of services they will provide, and likely will disappear with your fee.
Here's one of my favorites, and I probably get a letter for this once a month.
Yes.
And when I was lucky enough to be able to refi a few years
Yes.
back, a few times,
Yes.
it's harder now, I would get these letters even more frequently.
Yes.
And it's a letter in connection with a request for deed.
Yes. Yes.
Explain those letters.
Okay, these letters, and again, the targeted population here, as you said, are homeowners who have refinanced
Successfully.
and I've been a subject
Right.
of that. And immediately upon refinancing, you will get letter upon letter upon letter saying you may request a copy of your deed for $49 or whatever the fee is. Not an exorbitant amount,
No.
but you can get it for $10 from
There
your
you
county
have it.
recorder. So
Right.
it is again another scam where you get multiple copies of these letters. You think you may have applied for one, you may not have applied for one. You send in $49 multiple times. The scam artists are gone with your fee.
Okay. Now, some folks are being scammed in the rental process.
Yes.
Explain how that scam works.
In the rental process, because there are so many homes that are on the market right now because of the foreclosure crisis,
Right.
you have scam artists that are looking at sales records and finding properties where they then will pose as the owner or a property manager.
The audacity.
And looking at advertising the property for rent. And will then obviously scam potential renters, will collect a deposit. And for renters, if you are not paying the deposit to the property owner or some legitimate
do you
manager,
know?
well, you can look that up, but it is a matter of public record. And unfortunately, as a renter now, you have to take that added step to be sure you're not dealing with a scam artist.
Because what we find is people are renting properties that they cannot rent, and they're paying first and last month.
That's right.
And the money's gone.
That's right.
Absolutely
That's
gone.
right.
So, are there enforcement authorities out there that can offer assistance either before, during, or after a potential scam?
Absolutely, absolutely. The two main sources really are the California Department of Justice, very, very rich in terms of consumer resources. Obviously, some of these transactions involve a criminal element in which they can then be involved and work with local law enforcement officials. And then the California Department of Real Estate. We want to be sure that anyone who is dealing with unscrupulous individuals are known by the Department of Real Estate, and frankly, a lot of licenses of realtors have been revoked because they've been involved in a lot
In
of
our
these scams.
final moments, I must remind our viewers that the Board of Equalization is hiring.
Yes.
In tough economic
Yes.
times, how many folks are you hiring?
We actually have had authority to hire several hundred new people.
That's
and
a lot.
It is a lot.
And
It
it's
is
in
a lot.
connection with the Amazon tax.
That's correct. That's correct.
How do we apply?
Well, best thing, go on our website, www.boe.ca.gov.
And what's nice about it is it's at all levels.
That's correct.
So there's people with expertise, folks that may be just entering the job market,
Absolutely.
and good benefits,
Yes.
health care.
I really encourage everyone to look at the opportunities of the Board of Equalization.
Okay,
Yes.
her name is Betty Yee. She is a member of the Board of Equalization. My name is Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on California Edition.
As of October 1st, 2012, how many states have passed the Amazon tax? 5, 10, 15, or 20? 10. In chronological order, the following states have passed the Amazon tax: New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Illinois, Arkansas, Texas, Pennsylvania, California, and Georgia.
You're watching California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Shelly Higginbotham. She is the mayor of beautiful Pismo Beach, and it is quite beautiful. And I thank you for joining us. I want to speak with you about another part of the Central Coast, and that is Diablo Canyon. It is a nuclear power plant. Unlike San Onofre in North San Diego County, where you can see from the road, you can't see Diablo Canyon. Talk to us about the relative importance of Diablo on this county economically.
Oh, it's got a huge economic impact. It's one of the largest employers in San Luis Obispo County. It's one of the largest taxpayers in San Luis Obispo County. But in addition, I'm not sure people realize how involved PG&E is in the community of volunteerism.
I've heard that.
And just contributing to the many, many nonprofits here.
Now, you know as well as anyone, there's been a lot of nerves in connection with nuclear power plants in light of what happened in San Onofre. And I just remind our viewers, at the end of January, they were on the verge of a meltdown.
Right.
And that caused a lot of anxiety. And as we speak today, San Onofre is shut down. It is out of commission. Has that had any impact on Diablo, do you know?
Well, San Onofre is run by a different company.
Right.
So that could be apples and oranges as well.
Right, one would hope.
And Diablo Canyon, if you look at from the point that it was built and operational to today, they have a very good history.
I remember a few months back it was closed down for a short time because of a sea salp, which is a tiny little gelatinous organism that came in, but nothing like what's going on in San Onofre.
Right.
You mentioned to me, Mayor, that you were recently at a drill at Diablo Canyon. To the extent you can tell us about the drill, please do.
Well, actually, the drill, it's actually for Pismo Beach. It's our emergency operations center, yes.
Continue.
And we operate a drill countywide. So it's extremely important, especially with the proximity of Pismo Beach to Diablo Canyon.
Which is?
Just within 5 miles.
That close, yeah.
That we are fully prepared for any kind of emergency. And your emergency operations center is relevant as it was for us 2 years ago when we had a tsunami.
And can we talk about that? Because I do think that is what continues to be on the minds of Californians. The Fukushima earthquake, which actually did cause a little tsunami.
That's right.
On our coast. Did it hit the Central Coast? Because I know it hit more northern.
It did. Well, it hit, Morro Bay sustained some damage. Moss Landing, my friends in Crescent City sustained some damage as well. But Morro Bay did sustain damage.
It did. And so you have the Fukushima earthquake.
Right.
You have the recent spate of earthquakes in Southern California. You have San Onofre. So nerves are a bit frayed there.
But just as general best practices, you want a city to make sure that their emergency operations center is up to speed. And so to be a part of that, the city will participate with the county on regular drills, and actually FEMA will come and evaluate you.
Federal Emergency Management Authority.
Yes.
And did they this time around?
They came and started an evaluation, and they will come next month and give us a grade.
So was Diablo involved in this drill you just mentioned, or prior drills? I mean, I have to think that, in this county, Diablo has to play an integral part in any preparedness.
Oh, absolutely. And PG&E Diablo Canyon goes beyond that, and they send out cards every year to every household in the county, and it gives you directions on what to do regarding if you hear a siren. It tells you how you should evacuate. It's very well spelled out.
It's interesting you mentioned this because, as you know, PG&E took a hit a few years back because of what happened in San Bruno, which was the suburb of San Francisco, and they had some gas lines just literally simultaneously explode.
Right.
And it caused some deaths. It was very sad. Now, I know PG&E in this county doesn't have gas, it's simply nuclear, but from what you're describing, your view is they are a good corporate partner, corporate citizen.
They've been a great partner to Pismo Beach. I believe they're a great partner in the county. They regularly maintain their sirens. At the city council level, we just had an item on our agenda where they're trying to replace the aging utility poles in our city, and working with us on different designs and where to place them at no charge to the city.
So talk to us more about the drill. What happened? Did you learn anything new? Is there any advice you can offer any Californian that may be watching our program today?
what I learned is that there are many cogs in the wheel in emergency operations, from your police department, your public works, your fire, even your finance department.
Really?
Yes, because they need to know if there's going to be huge monies expended from your city budget.
Right.
You don't know how you're going to mobilize all of your resources, if you're going to ask for mutual aid, etc.
I recently spoke with Bob Kelly, the mayor of Atascadero, and as you know, the San Simeon earthquake damaged some property there pretty significantly. They did get FEMA assistance. Pasadena in Southern California, as you know, had some windstorms recently, and they did not get FEMA assistance. So it's true, you don't know when the federal government will be available for you. We know what happened with Hurricane Katrina, where the federal government was not available immediately, so you really have to be ready to fend on your own, just in case.
You do. It is so important that you follow the Red Cross's advice.
Please, go.
And please get your disaster kits. Please get your disaster kits, but please follow the direction of your first responders. Please don't be a rogue person. I know it's scary, but if you start not following directions, that's when people are going to get hurt.
So, can you tell us what we need in a disaster kit? Do you know? I can put it on the screen if you don't. I just have to admit, I'm kind of embarrassed because I think we do have a disaster kit, but maybe it's not updated, and maybe we need to look into that more seriously.
And you should be carrying something in your car as well.
Which I don't.
Every vehicle. But you should have enough supplies for 72 hours.
And the key is water.
The key is water.
That really is, because we can live as humans without food for quite some time. I mean, weeks, not water.
And cash. And here's the thing, we had
Really?
a
Did you learn this?
A fellow from the Red Cross said, keep some cash, put it aside in your kit, and make sure it's $1 bills. Because if you have a $10 bill or a $20
That's what's
bill
going.
and you need water, that's what a bottle of water is going to cost you.
How much did he tell you?
Money?
Yes. How much did he say?
Enough. He didn't give us an amount. So you need to have a lot of ones, you need to have water, and he said have a change of clothes that you like, and make sure that you have food that you like. And perhaps that you have, if you take prescription medicines, make sure you have prescription medicines there.
Eyeglasses, contact lenses. Otherwise, Diablo's a bit in the news lately as a result of some studies that are going to be conducted off the coast.
The seismic studies.
The seismic studies. Are you hearing rumblings in your community about them? Because this is what I'm hearing is kind of a schizophrenia. On the one hand, residents on the Central Coast are thrilled that the seismic studies are being done because their shoreline fault was discovered recently and they want to know if there's a problem at Diablo. On the other hand, they're feeling like a major disruption, arguably, to marine life. I mean, the decibel level of these pings that go every 15 seconds, 250 decibels. And so there's a schizophrenia about this. Are you hearing the same?
We're hearing concerns from our residents regarding the disruption of sea life, and we had unprecedented whale watching experiences this year. So they're afraid because it's increased over the years, and so the residents are afraid that the whales will not come back.
Yeah, I had read, and I like fun facts, that a total of 2,830 whales, dolphins, and seals of 25 different species will be harassed. That's an interesting word, but not injured or killed by the surveys.
Right, and they're afraid that once they're harassed, they will not return to those regular ways of travel between Alaska and the Mexican coast.
And I think about the outside of Hearst Castle. Have you been where their seals will beach right in front of there?
Oh, the elephant seals.
Yeah, the elephant seals. I mean, those are just simultaneously the most beautiful and ugly animals I've ever seen, and quite majestic.
And they've been coming for 30 years.
And they've been coming for 30 years. The interesting news, though, is U.S. Geological Survey is going to engage in monitoring by drawing blood before and after from various animals to see if their stress levels have increased.
That is interesting.
Yeah, so are you feeling positive about the disaster preparedness, about the seismic studies that are going on with Diablo Canyon?
I feel very positive about Pismo Beach and how prepared they
that.
are. Our staff is excellent. And our citizens will be well protected. As for the seismic studies, I have to be honest with you, I have not read the extent to what they're going to do.
You're a busy woman. You have two daughters and a son in college?
Two sons and a daughter.
I love it. Well, I thank you, Mayor, for joining us. She is Shelly Higginbotham. She is the Mayor of Pismo Beach. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thanks for watching California Edition.
According to the American Red Cross, what percentage of households are completely prepared for disaster? 6, 16, 26 or 36%. Only 6% of households are completely prepared for a disaster.
Welcome back to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. So glad you're still with us. Our guest is Carol Blakeslee. She is with Friends of Wild Cherry Canyon. What is Wild Cherry Canyon?
Wild Cherry Canyon is a beautiful piece of property here
That
in
is an
San Luis Obispo
understatement.
County. Yes, it's
Say it
stunning.
again. San Luis Obispo County.
San Luis Obispo County, located adjacent to Avila Beach. It's about 2,500 acres of rolling hills, coast wildflowers, oak woodlands, beautiful, undeveloped, pristine land.
And let's back up. How did you become such a booster of Wild Cherry? Honestly.
I began my work on Wild Cherry Canyon when my older daughter was 3, and now she's a junior in high school. I became a booster because I had the opportunity to tour the property back in 1999, and the landowners expressed a willingness to sell it and pass it over to state parks to extend Montana de Oro.
And let's talk about state parks, which
Yeah.
is in the news a great deal lately.
Unfortunately,
yes.
yes.
Unfortunately, as you know, the State Parks Department of the state of California miraculously found $54 million and set off quite a controversy.
They did.
Because they had $54 million sitting there while 70, I think it was, state parks were set for closure.
Exactly.
Now, the good news is, with that money being located, the parks will not be closed, but there was a lot
That's
of
correct.
anger because private dollars have been raised to keep some parks closed. I digress. Shouldn't that money help Wild Cherry Canyon?
Interestingly, no.
No.
The money that's set to fund that last piece of Wild Cherry Canyon has already been allocated. It's sitting in the coffers, and it's not even counted within that missing $54 million.
So
we can fund the project without that money.
So let's explain that, because the
Okay.
project needs about $21 million.
Correct.
And you have raised about $14 million, is that
Yes.
fair?
Yes.
And so what you need is $7 million from the Public Works Board within the state parks?
The way it works
Yeah,
is the
please.
money, the last $7 million piece is under the umbrella of state parks.
Okay.
But Public Works Board is the state entity that has to allocate it
I see.
for state parks and acquire the property on behalf of the state of California. So in order to get that last piece, we actually don't go to state parks, we go to the Public Works Board.
Who are they?
It's just a very small group of people who are government officials, mostly appointed by the governor.
Okay.
And they meet monthly and they decide what kind of projects or land is acquired by the state of California.
And as I understand it, there is a budget for land acquisition.
Yes.
Sufficient enough so that it could fund this $6.9 million that you need.
Absolutely. The money to do this project is there and ready to go, and it can't be spent for anything else besides land conservation.
And what's interesting is you were butting up against a termination of a lease.
That's right.
Explain that if you can.
Well, the American Land Conservancy
Right.
has an option to purchase this property. We originally entered into the option many, many years ago. It's been extended several times. The landowners said that they would grant their last extension by September of this year. Fortunately, they've agreed to one more extension on December 31st of 2012. So we have to get the project together by the end of this year, or they will threaten to expire that option agreement.
Well, this is a challenge because
Very much.
as we speak, we're in the middle of an election cycle.
Correct.
For better or for worse, you are married to Sam Blakeslee, who's a state senator.
True.
He is not running for re-election.
Yes.
So I'm not really sure how that plays. But, you know, there's just a lot of complicating factors. I don't mean to
There
say that
is.
pejoratively, but
Yes.
you know what I'm getting at. You
It's
know,
very complicated, and it's complicated by the fact that after the state park scandal occurred
Right.
and that money that was hidden away was discovered, many people were let go. Unfortunately, a lot of those people that were let go were the principal parties working on Wild Cherry Canyon. So on top of all the difficulties you suggest,
Right.
we also don't have any people who have a lot of history with this project in state park. So in some ways, we're starting from scratch.
Now, what's interesting is the future state senator is, this is what pundits are saying, likely to be someone named Bill Monning.
Very likely.
I'm not saying he's going to win, but that's what it looks like. And Bill Monning is a Democrat. He has represented areas to the north of San Luis Obispo County, so he hasn't necessarily known San Luis Obispo County as well as, for example, Mr. Blakeslee, your husband, who has lived here most of his life. So are you in touch with Bill Monning? And the reason I push you on that is, he's a Democrat. Sam Blakeslee, a Republican. Kacho Ashajian, a Republican. He's the assembly member. So maybe the Democrat can help you with the administration.
Well, that's our hope. I mean, Sam Blakeslee knows this property extremely well and has been a huge proponent. But I think the fact that he has been a Republican of a different party of the governor probably hasn't helped us.
Right.
So most likely, statistically speaking, Bill Monning will be elected. And if that is the case, the fact that he is a Democrat will probably be of some assistance. But there are bigger issues than that, too.
Well, it's interesting. I saw Mr. Monning in Sacramento recently, and I said to him, have you met Kara Blakeslee? She's a big proponent of the Wild Cherry Canyon project. He's like, yes, of course I have.
Yes.
I know all about it. So it's already on his radar.
It is. And he's taken a tour of the property as well. And he thought it was beautiful, as most people do. He was very supportive.
So, I come back to the fact, though, that December 31st is but, 2 months after the election.
Right.
And I guess arguably Mr. Monning will be sworn in December, but still,
how does it all happen together?
Well,
I think the way I would look at it is if we make no progress whatsoever, I can expect for that option to be terminated and our opportunity to acquire Wild Cherry Canyon will be over. On the other hand, if we can demonstrate progress, like if we can get at least on the agenda, I believe that we could go back to the landowner and ask for another extension, as long as they see some kind of progress.
So if we have viewers that are watching that would like to support your efforts, we can talk about the financial side in a second. Can they call the Public Works Board and say, put it on the agenda, or is it just not that type of
Well, they certainly could. I'm not sure it will necessarily help. What I would say for listeners, go to wildcherrycanyon.org. Visit our website. Everything you'd want to know about that project is right there on the website. There's also a way to donate.
Yes, and please, and
although we're not looking for acquisition money, the state has said we also have to raise a $1 million endowment to help pay for management costs once the property is open.
And how's that going, the endowment side?
It's going pretty well. We haven't even begun our major fundraising efforts, but we've brought in about $250,000.
So let's presume that it all goes well and Wild Cherry Canyon is acquired. What can we expect for the property? What will you do?
Oh, it would be so great when that day comes.
Enthusiasm.
Okay, so if this project is successful, we will not only get 2,500 acres of Wild Cherry Canyon added to Montana de Oro, we will also get 1,500 acres of the Hybrid Preserve, which is next door, also donated to the state at the same time. So we're really talking about 4,000 new acres to Montana de Oro. And in addition to that, with those two pieces, we have a connection for the new Coastal Trail extension so that you could actually start in the morning, have breakfast in Avila, walk 20, 25 miles if you can do it, and maybe have dinner in Montana de Oro, or perhaps spend the night halfway at a campsite in between. So these two projects enable the connection between Avila and Morro Bay. So it's really great. You hike all day and night and you'll never see a car.
Am I looking at the future executive director of this project? I mean, is that something?
The way it works, once this project closed, the land transfers to state parks.
So it
it's
becomes
up to
a state
them.
park, right?
That's
literally.
right. It becomes part of Montana de Oro State Park.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the senator. I know he is, I was just speaking with a member of a local city council who, a Democrat herself, said, I am a Democrat, but I have voted for Sam Blakeslee, from day one. And so many are wondering, what does the future hold for your husband?
Well, I think Sam has
or
had
immediate future.
Well, Sam's had a great political future, and we don't know exactly what the future holds. But right now, he is embarked upon a new think tank called the California Reform Institute, and he's gearing up to work with many people to develop some bipartisan solutions to some of the problems that plague the state of California.
And
so I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, and some have argued that he has been bipartisan during his career.
Yes, he has.
What about, as I drove to a local restaurant, I saw Blakeslee and Blakeslee. I saw the sun. What about Blakeslee and Blakeslee? Is that going to
Well, that's where I work.
That's where. So you're the Blakeslee, but is he the other Blakeslee?
Well, actually, Blakeslee refers to his parents
Okay.
originally, who are no longer involved in the business. But yes, Sam is the president of that company, and he will be more engaged in the future than he has been in the past. Although I think his efforts are going to be focused primarily on the California Reform Institute.
I want to wish you the best of luck with Wild
you,
Cherry
Brad.
Canyon. We'll look towards that December 31st date. Her name is Kara Blakeslee. She is with Friends of Wild Cherry Canyon. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thanks for watching California Edition. We'll be right back.